Hello, welcome to Tuning In Through the psoas. This class is not just a psoas release class, but an opportunity to take this time to spend on your mat, really listening to what's happening within your body, maybe that heart space, and just kind of a reconnection. And this class in particular is going to be kind of like a pep talk. I think maybe because I felt like I needed it, and hopefully will help get you through a little bit longer. So to start out, let's go ahead and start out, if you'd like. In this class, you'll definitely want to have some blocks and a towel or a blanket. So we'll start out with the blocks the tallest. So set up really tall. You can put your blanket across the top. If you have another blanket and you wanted to place that near the top of your mat, having the bottom edge of it rolled up for that natural curvature of your neck. And then if you place just the back of your legs, your calves on the blocks, if you're in your living room and you had your sofa, you could also put your legs up on the sofa as well. Bring your shoulder blades underneath your heart, allow your palms up, and then just kind of allow the body to soften in here. Allow yourself to begin to notice your breath, just following the inhales and the exhales. So just observing here, not moving the breath. Just watching that breath maybe enter and you feel your belly, or just noticing if it's your chest rising more. As you exhale, notice the temperature. And taking some time to maybe scan before we start working with breath. Maybe starting at the top of your head and just briefly scanning through your forehead to your eyes, your nose, back of your head, your mouth, jaw, throat. Just becoming aware of your body here. So just paying attention, but not placing a value, a judgment upon any one feeling. Maybe now you're around your hips, noticing the tops of your legs, noticing the feeling in your knees, your calves, ankles, bottom of your feet, to your toes. And then if it helps, you can place your hands kind of in that low belly, that space between your hip points, and start directing your breath as you inhale deeply and to expanding that space underneath your hands, letting your low belly expand, letting your waist expand, your back body up into the diaphragm, the ribs. The collarbone expands. Even feel that expansion to the crown of your head as you slowly begin to exhale. Feel that low belly underneath your fingertips soften down. The ribs soften. Shoulders, throat. Take a deep inhale. Filling up the low belly as you exhale. Just let the belly soften. Don't think of drawing up from the pelvic floor yet. Just let there be a softening down of the whole body on the exhale. Each inhale creating some space, some expansion, and each exhale there's some tension, there's some release of tension or stress or held energy. And today, as we go through, as we're kind of entering in this feeling of still being in a pandemic, I think a lot of us are feeling some patience worn thin, and our fortitude might not be what we thought it was because of an expectation of maybe when we all expected everything to be over. And it's not just during this pandemic. A lot of times we can face things where we weren't expecting to still have to be holding on. And it reminds me of the niyamas. So in yoga, there's yamas and niyamas. And one of the niyamas is tapas, which means heat, the literal translation. But in other translations, it can also mean catharsis or austerities, self-discipline, spiritual effort, change, tolerance, or transformation. And tapas is as much about this willingness, not just to be burned, to go through, but to also be blessed. So today we're kind of tuning into that space of willingness to not just endure this, but to endure and come out with lessons learned, with improvements, with grace. So take another deep inhale, expanding, getting your torso, and think of that breath moving out beyond the space of just the torso into your limbs. And as you exhale, maybe release your jaw as you sigh it out. And then we'll begin to bring the soles of the feet down to the mat. You can move those blocks, towels, blankets, whatever it is, off to the side, keeping your feet about hip width apart this time. Heels are just a little bit beyond your seat. We're going to start with some pelvic tilts to kind of get into some softening of the psoas muscle, and even just to kind of start to engage and become really aware of the psoas muscle. So as we're laying down, just think of your body kind of in a neutral position. So even if you wanted to kind of rock the knees from side to side, rotate the pelvis around, and then just let yourself land. And in that neutral position, just taking note of maybe that spaciousness. There might be a little bit of space between your low back and the floor. Take note of your tailbone, how it feels against the floor, noticing the soles of your feet, the backs of your shoulders, tops of your shoulders, behind where they're touching your elbows. Maybe it's the back of your hands, just feeling into all points that are connected to the mat, back of your head. And then once again, start to fill up the inhale into that low belly. But as you fill up, if you can think of your hip points like a bowl of water, just kind of your pelvic area, the space between your hip points is holding a big giant bowl of water. And as you inhale, it begins to tilt forward, spilling some water as it fills up really deeply. Inhale, expand the low belly, the back, the waist. And then as you exhale, think of drawing that pelvic floor up and let those hips tilt back, like as if you were pouring the bowl of water towards your face. Think of softening the tops of your shoulders, softening your neck, and then just inhale once again. So you're going to be moving back and forth. If you'd like, you can even put your fingertips into the space, the crease of your hips, and you might notice the movement of your psoas. Your psoas muscle attaches to the tops of the thighs, the thigh bones, wrapping around our pelvic region, and then through all of those organs, and then connecting to the back of the lumbar spine. So this is our kind of fight or flight muscle that's extremely sensitive. It's also next to vagus nerve, so it's getting a lot of signals. It slides more like a tongue. You might notice it doesn't really contract like a bicep necessarily. So we're just starting to listen in here. You can come now to that neutral spine and let go of that breathing and just let the knees drift in on each other and just soften. And now see how quickly you can relax that psoas muscle. Just let it go. Take a deep inhale, filling all the way up, and then as you exhale out of an open mouth, really releasing that breath. And we're going to go back into these hip tilts back and forth just for a couple more times. As you inhale, really fill up that belly, tilt that bowl of water towards your heels. As you exhale, draw navel to spine, pubic bone to belly button, and kind of let those hips lift. Feel that core engage, but think of softening the shoulders. And then coming back to a little bit more of a neutral spine, and then begin to tilt that bowl of water as if you're going around the hands of a clock. So starting at noon, and then tipping those hips closer to the right. So you hit 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3. So you're going to make some circles here now with the hips. And just let your breath kind of guide you and move where it wants to. Maybe you find that this inhale is to the right side of the clock, and the exhale, instead of going front to back, it's okay. Just connect though with that breath. Keep that deep inhale and exhale going as you continue that circling motion, kind of getting into a little deeper movement of the psoas, and also working with that spine. That more we can move our spine and let it kind of roll around and get slinky, the deeper that connection, that mind body connection is. And then just begin to rotate in the opposite direction once you feel that you've had enough, going around counterclockwise, 12, 11, 10, and so on. And just kind of keep feeling that circling of the hips. And again, if it helps to have your fingertips just gently onto the inside of your hip creases to notice into that psoas, even feeling your core engage here. So it's a deep paying attention of how everything feels. And we're doing this in order to find those depths, in order to find that space that you feel you might not be able to keep going. It doesn't always mean causing pain. It's just what else is here. And bring those legs back to a neutral. You can let the knees drift in on each other. And again, see how quickly you can just release that psoas muscle from any sort of engagement. You might take a couple of breaths. As we think about tapas, in Deborah Adele's book where she discusses the yamas and niyamas, she says, can we stand the heat of being dismantled and changed forever by the fire? Can we prepare ourselves daily through our practice, our staying power, and our choices? Can we stay in the burning with integrity? Can we hold on for the blessing? Take another deep inhale. Let that exhale release your jaw. Let out a sigh. And then keeping the left sole of the foot towards the mat, crossing the right leg over. Keep the right knee open, right knee flexed. Gently start to draw the left knee in towards the chest, softening the tops of the shoulders. That right elbow might be kind of gently pressing against the right knee to keep it open. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, find a softening in the jaw, in your throat, softening around your eyes. Can we be willing to see the and? That this is really hard right now, and I'm still seeking joy. Placing that left foot down, draw the right knee into the chest, give it a nice little squeeze, and then we'll start to make some circles into the knee, getting into the hip socket, some synovial joint fluid going. And then take that right leg, this time crossing it over so both knees are stacked on top of each other, taking those legs into kind of a 90-degree angle. Once those knees are up, feet are flexed. Take a little time to draw the pubic bone to belly button so the core becomes engaged. You might notice your low back kind of pressing against the mat a little bit. Keep that core engaged. Bring those arms up overhead if it feels good, or maybe behind that. And as you exhale, just draw that torso up. Keep that lower half engaged. You can even lift up those hips by thinking of bringing pubic bone to belly button. Hold in here. Keep that chin lifted. As you exhale, slowly lower down. Keeping left sole of the foot towards the mat. You can lift up those hips and just gently bring them to the right, just a couple inches. And on your next exhale, slowly lower both knees to the left, keeping right shoulder blade towards the mat. This time is frustrating, and still slowly back towards the right foot comes to that left flex. Open. You put that right knee to chest, elbows just really pressing to keep it open. Soft tops of your shoulders, space between shoulder blades, big belly. We notice maybe there's a fear, and we feel so much gratitude and blessing. Slowly bring the right foot down towards the mat. Left and give it a nice little squeeze. Some circles left to the hip socket a little more. Still deep in the breath. Every time you reach that breath, connect to that deep breath. And practicing the but just to expand which was and left leg, the knees are stacked, bring the knees and flexing into the feet. Taking a moment, get it drop deep into the leg and feel that kind of pull down, firm that core. Lift try it just for funsies. It creates kind of a longer lever. This is going to be a little bit easier on the neck. So whatever is most comfortable for you. And then hold, keep that hold up. Keep that space between chin and chest. That hold, that kind of crunch, that pulling in, that crackling and burn. And then let go. See how quickly you can let go. Bring your hands down, lifting up those hips, drawing them to the left slightly. And as you exhale, knees go to the right, left shoulder blade stays towards the mat. And just see how quickly you can turn the dial off on that burning, that connection, that intensity. Big, deep inhales. As you exhale, soften somewhere. Tapas is our determined effort to become someone of character and strength. And bring those knees back up towards center. Once again, bring the heels directly behind your seat. And if this helps, you can take one of your blocks, placing it between your knees, a little bit of squeeze. We're not creating a ton of tension, but just a little bit of tension here in the block. So you start to feel that deep core meridian line. So those inner thighs, and you can almost feel it up into the pelvic floor, up into the belly. Arms can be out to the side, or they can even be palms down by your heels, whatever feels best to you. Press those heels into the mat. Keep that engagement of the legs. And on your next inhale, think of those hips lifting all the way up. Tops of the shoulders staying to the mat. Nice openness between the chin. So not letting the chin collapse down towards the chest, but keeping that spaciousness. As you exhale, slowly lower, keeping all this engagement that you have in the inner thighs and the low belly. Exhale. Once you get to the bottom, again, release all that tension. I mean, you'll still have a little bit, or the knees together so the block doesn't drop, but just release the tension. And then press those into the mat. Create a little bit of that tension again by pressing into the block. Press heels down. Inhale, lift those hips. Exhale. Slowly lower, and then just follow your breath a couple more times of these hip lifts. But once you get to the bottom, make sure that you're just letting go for a moment. Turning off the dial of that tension, and press heels in. Inhale it up. Exhale, slowly lower. Keeping that tension on the way down, and then once you've landed, just like that, like if you were coming in with a bunch of groceries and just let them down all at once. One last time, lift up those hips. Exhale. This time, remove the block, lifting up the hips just enough to slide the block down so it'll be flat on the mat, horizontal. So that's sacral area is on top, and so making sure that the block doesn't come into the lumbar spine. Arms out to the side. Knees can fall in on each other if that feels good. Just take a moment. Big inhale, cleansing. Exhale. And then starting to stretch into the psoas. So we'll, on an inhale, lifting up that right leg, flexing into the foot. As you exhale, start to lower down. Feel that heel come almost down to the mat, and then point the toe right before the heel touches. Inhale, bring that right leg back up. Flexing into the foot as you exhale, slowly lower. Still kind of getting into that psoas, kind of waking it up, turning it on, so that we can come to a possible release at the end. So as you exhale this time, let the heel touch down to the mat and just let go here. Feel the foot fall open and maybe noticing how that feels into your hip flexor, into the psoas muscle, the front of your hip, as you just soften here. Soften your face. Really paying attention to how each moment, each pose today is feeling. And maybe you even notice not just the general area that we're working, but maybe you'll even notice today, oh, I keep clenching my shoulder blade, or my eyes are holding a lot of tension as I make this pose or that pose. But we focus in on the psoas, since it is such a sensitive muscle, then slowly let's bring right sole of the foot to the mat. We'll move to the left side. So inhale. As you exhale, flexing into that left foot, slowly lower towards the mat. Just before that heel touches the mat, point the foot. Inhale, bring that left leg up. Exhale, flex, slowly lower down. Since this is such an intuitive and sensitive muscle, we focus in on the psoas. Give us that connection. And as you exhale, the heel is going to touch down to the mat and then just let go. And then the end, it's optional, but I will always give you guys time for what is known as a neurogenic tremor, which was started by David Berceli, as a way for the body to release a lot of stored energy and tension and stress, trauma. It's been extremely effective, used for PTSD, and a number of other areas, reducing anxiety. Slowly bring that left sole of the foot back to the mat, and just take a moment here before you remove the block, just kind of letting that elevation of the hips soften down into the shoulders. And even if something is not comfortable, feel free to remove the block, but even kind of paying attention without judgment to it, just noticing here. Even when we talk about tapas and staying in the fire, it's not necessarily staying with an immense pain. That's not at all what we're looking for. And then we'll lift up those hips, remove the block out of the way. Slowly lower your hips down, draw knees to chest, give them a nice little hug, maybe a rock from side to side. So when we hear that self-discipline, when we think of that on our mat, it's not always staying within, there's levels to it. So it's not asking you to endure immense pain and discomfort, but can you stick with something that is endured, something that you're able to? Can you stick with that instead of running from it? So we are too quickly running for comfort, too often quickly running for comfort. Then roll over to one side, really gently bringing ourselves up, and we're going to come into table. So if you happen to have a particularly hard floor, maybe some healing happening in your knees, feel free to bring a towel or a blanket. Knees are going to come directly underneath hips. Fan your fingertips nice and wide, but the wrist can be a little bit beyond shoulders. And finding a neutral spine first. So gently draw that low belly in and up. So if you think of the belly button coming towards your mid-back to create some length in the spine here. Then on your next inhale, feel those hips lift up, low belly sinks down, heart shines through, chin comes up last. As you exhale, tuck the tailbone under, navel the spine, press the mat away, chin tucks. So moving as slowly here to really articulate in through the spine, noticing the stretch in the front body, and even kind of that collapsing compression in the back body, and then how that feels through the transition of your hips tucking, navel drawing in, press the mat away, shoulder blades expand. Now the front body has that contraction, compression, paying attention to how that feels. Oftentimes, when we've been enduring for so long, we can start to feel barren, like we have no reserves. But if we can just stay in that space and keep seeking to explore a new kind of strength, exhale, tuck that tailbone under one last time, press the mat away. This time, as you inhale, come to a neutral spine. Low belly is gently drawing in, crown of the head is reaching forward. Bringing that right knee just a little bit more so it's directly under you. So maybe not quite out to underneath your hip, but a little more centered. Flexing into the left foot, we're going to get into some hip mobility now. So keep your spine nice and long. As you inhale, bring that left leg flexing into the left foot. So if I were to face you, it's kind of like a fire hydrant. And think of raising that knee up as high as you possibly can. So the shin is staying parallel to the floor. As you exhale, kind of wrapping that around towards the back. So then you're a 90-degree angle, but that low belly is drawing in and up, kind of the head reaches forward. And then circle that knee back down again. Inhale, raise it up. So you're always keeping it in a 90-degree angle in that knee, and then circling that hip back. One more of those. Lower that knee down, and then raise it up. Exhale. Bring that left knee to meet the right, circle those hips. Lean over to the left, circle around to the back. Coming forward. And then getting into the right knee now. So crown of the head reaches forward, low belly is gently drawing in and up. So as you inhale, that right leg rises up. So it's less just kind of finding that movement and then swinging it around towards the back, keeping that 90-degree angle, and then the knee coming back down. Inhale, sweep that leg up. Working on some hip mobility here, just to keep those hips nice and happy. This also is kind of helping with some core engagement, psoas engagement. I think that was it. We did 3. So then bring that right knee back down, swing the hips around to the right now, circle around to the back. Find that breath. And now coming down to the mat on your belly, so gently lowering down, bringing the elbows directly underneath your shoulders, palms forward, press all 10 toenails into the mat, so much so that your kneecaps lift up. Think of bringing pubic bone to belly button to soften into the low back. Let your shoulder blades glide down your back. So here in Sphinx pose, let's take a nice big clearing lion's breath. So as you inhale, nice and deep all the way to the crown of the head, as you and kind of draw those elbows back. As you exhale, stick out your tongue. Feel your belly kind of pressing that air out. So think of the pelvic floor is drawing upwards and you're really pressing all that air out. Inhale it again. Heart kind of shines forward. You can gently draw those elbows towards the back, shoulder blades down your back. The legs are really strong. Toenails are pressing into the mat. As you exhale, stick out your tongue, that low belly drawing in and up. This time we're actually going to use that exhale and the psoas core deep engagement to lift up. So inhale, This time as you exhale, keep that pelvic floor drawing up, but this time think of lifting your hips. Inhale it back down. Exhale. Draw those hip points up, knees, feet pressing into the mat. There's a lot happening into your front core. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Shoulder blades still drawing them out in the back. Legs are nice and strong. You're using that core. Pulling upward. Exhale it back down. Keeping that right hand down, bring that left hand by your side to roll over onto your right side. You can come up onto the hands here. And then the goal here is to just, like a beached whale, let your lower half get really heavy. This elbow can even come up by the ear. You feel that stretch on the right side body. Gaze can go down towards your hand, or you can even kind of play with looking from the diagonal to your right hand to maybe upwards and to the left, kind of working into the cervical spine. Just find a softening here. Come back down to that Sphinx. Elbows underneath. We're just going to roll over to the other side. So bring that right hand back towards your hip, rolling over. Press the left hand into the mat. Left shoulder can come up by the ear. Let this bottom half get really heavy, like a seal. And again, your gaze can go down towards that left hand, or you can go back and forth, kind of softening into the neck area. Yoga Sutras 1.20 says, through faith, which will give sufficient energy to achieve success against all odds, the direction will be maintained. Coming back now down to that Sphinx, bringing those hands a little bit closer towards the chest, elbows in, draw your shoulder blades down your back. Tuck your toes under. Take a big deep inhale to the low belly. And as you exhale, think of drawing the hip points together to firm up your core before you come back, all the way back into mountain pose. Or no, not mountain. We will be into mountain. I was reading ahead. But we gotta get there first. So we're gonna be in downward facing dog. So take a moment in your downward dog to bend into each knee, press that mat forward, bring shoulder blades to a neutral position. So making sure that your shoulder blades and shoulders aren't up by your ears, but they're also not so far down that you're feeling a flaring out of the ribs and even into your armpits. More of a neutral position. Fan out those fingers. Make little grippies into your fingertips into the mat. Bend into each knee. Big deep inhale in, cleansing exhale. Then taking a look forward onto your mat. I had to have a little wardrobe, got toasty. Taking a look forward, take a deep bend into the knees. And as you exhale, bring your feet directly underneath your hips. Keep your knees nice and bent. So coming into forward fold. So your low belly, bottom of your ribs is touching the top of your thighs, a little sway from side to side. Exhale it out. Bring the weight back into your heels and back into your hips. And on your next inhale, glide those hands up to the shins. Find a little half lift here. So crown of the head is forward, tailbone is back. As you exhale, soften into the knees. Keep that weight back into the knees, back into the hips, and bring that torso all the way up. Now we're in mountain pose. Inhale it up, exhale. Hands to our center, shoulder blades gliding down your back. Take another inhale, reach those arms up. As you exhale, hinge forward at the hips, deepen in the knees into your forward fold. As you inhale, Hands can come down to the mat or your shins, draw them back to create a little traction here for that half lift. As you exhale, plant your hands, come back into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, wave up high onto those toes, feel the tailbone tuck under, get real slinky here with it as that spine works through into plank. Lower those knees, elbows in, lower down, hips lower, all the way down. As you inhale, you can lift that chest, elbows in, shoulder blades glide down your back. As you exhale, tuck the toes, send it back to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, that right leg floats up. As you exhale, soften down to earth. So elbows bend back, left knee bends. Press the mat away to bring that right knee through. Right hand or right foot behind the right hand, lower the left knee down. You can use blocks here on either side. Take an inhale to find some length here. You can also bring forearms up to the thigh or come all the way up. As you exhale, think of those hips slowly melting down. Soften the tailbone by a little energetic pull between your heel and your knee. Think of pubic bone to belly button as well. Big deep inhale. As you exhale, bring hands on either side. Come back to downward facing dog. Take a nice big inhale, clearing, cleansing exhale. Inhale, that left leg floats up. Exhale, soften everything down, soften to earth, and then press the earth away. Knee comes in, left foot behind, left hand, lower the right knee now. Find an inhale to gather up some length in the spine, staying down here, or maybe then as you exhale, come up to the knees or all the way. Create that nice little tension in the legs and that softening in the low back. Then let those hips melt down and forward. Big deep inhale. Next time, bring those hands on either side of the left foot. Come back to downward facing dog. Inhale high on those toes. Take a look forward, deep bend in the knees. As you exhale, bring the hands directly underneath your feet, directly underneath your hips. Forward fold. On your next inhale, take a little half lift. As you exhale, soften and bring that weight backwards. Exhale, unhinge from your hips, come up to mountain. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Inhale, reach those arms up. Exhale, forward fold, deepen in those knees. Take an inhale to find a nice little half lift. Exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Take an inhale, and a cleansing, clearing exhale. Fan out the fingers. On your next inhale, come up high on those toes. Start to wave the spine, tucking the tailbone under so it kind of feels like a ribbon waving forward. Crown of the head reaches forward. Lower the knees. Lower down. Inhale it up. However high feels comfortable. If your back is already comfortable enough to come into an upward facing dog, feel free, but move slow today. Knees come down, untuck the toes. So faith brings us some totality within. It's integrating ourselves, whereas doubt can kind of pull us apart. There's a consolidation of our energy and our faith. Take a big, deep inhale. As you exhale, stick out your tongue, let out a big roaring exhale. On your next inhale, let your right leg float up. As you exhale, that softening down to earth, bending elbows, bending knee. Then exhale, press the mat away. Put that right foot behind the right hand. Stay on the ball of the back foot, but bend into the back knee. Inhale, find a half lift, side length here in the spine. As you exhale, unhinge, bring that torso up using your core. Inhale it up. Exhale, maybe that back leg straightens, maybe it doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't feel good. That's okay. It's okay if that back leg is bent. As you inhale, find a little lift here. As you exhale, draw that breath from the pelvic floor, fists come to your hips. Breathe it out. Inhale it up. Exhale, draw that breath up and out. Inhale it up. Last one, really let it go. Create that fire. Then straightening once again, if it feels okay, into that back leg. And then hinge forward at the hips here. Reach that arm forward. There's lots of energy, so that heel is kind of driving forward here. Big, deep inhale. As you exhale, bring those arms back, open at the chest. Inhale, reach forward. Lots happening in this leg, and it's for a reason. Exhale it out. If you are feeling any intensity or pain in the low back, come up. Don't lean forward so low. Only move with what feels good to your body today in this moment. Exhale it out. Bringing both hands on either side. Send that right foot back. As you're ready, take an inhale, lift that left leg. As you exhale, soften to earth, draw that knee and press the mat away. Left foot behind right hand. Take an inhale, gather up some length in the spine. Bend the back knee to use your core as you exhale, so you're unhinging here. Inhale, maybe that back leg straightens. Maybe it feels better bent. It's not for any of us to judge. It's how it feels. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, draw up from the pelvic floor. Just squeeze out that breath. Inhale it up. Think of almost you're kind of creating like a fire with each inhale, each exhale. Letting it all out. Inhale it up one more time. Exhale. As you inhale, maybe that back leg straightens, and keep that length here. So maybe inhale it back up again, just to make sure. Then hinge forward at the hips. Inhale, bring those arms up. That front leg is kind of pressing forward. Back leg is pressing back to create this stability. As you inhale, then exhale, bring those arms back. Inhale. Exhale. One more time, inhale. This time as you exhale, place hands on either side. Come back to downward facing dog. Take an inhale, take a look forward, deep bend in those knees. Bring those feet underneath your hips. You can hop if you like. Inhale, find a little half lift. Exhale, bend those knees forward, fold. Inhale, find another half lift. As you exhale, soften down first. Weight back in the heels and hips. Bring that torso up. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Take an inhale, reach it up. Exhale, forward fold. Deep bend in those knees. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, come back to downward facing dog. As you inhale, come up high on those toes, wave the spine forward. Go slow here, feel that articulation in your spine. Lower the knees, exhale it down. Inhale it up. Exhale, downward facing dog. You can pause in child's pose here if that feels better to you. Or down dog. Just a couple breaths. In the ancient biblical Christian text, it says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So it's that conservation of energy, and the evidence is how you walk with it, with that knowing. That's where your energy is. Knowing you'll walk out of this fire. If you're in child's pose, slowly coming back to downward dog. Take a big inhale up from the earth, frame your hands and your feet. Fingertips are spread wide, toes are spread wide. And as you exhale, feel the breath move along your back body back into the earth. Maybe the neck even feels longer. On your next inhale, let the right leg rise up. As you exhale, soften down to earth and press the mat away, right foot behind right hand. Bend into that back knee. Find an inhale here for some length. As you exhale, bring the torso all the way up. Inhale it up. Fist to fire. Let that breath go. Inhale it up. Bring that breath up from the pelvic floor. That core is pressing all that air out. Inhale it up. Exhale. Inhale, reach forward here, straighten into the back leg. Press the mat forward with that front heel. Big, deep inhale. This time as you exhale, we're going to open it up into goddess. So spin it open to that wide part of your mat. Toes are going to turn in the same direction as your knees. Send your hips back. Find some stability in that core. Then bring that torso up using your core. But give the hips a lot of space. Inhale. Bring those arms up as you exhale. Press it all out. Inhale, gathering up from the earth, draw it all the way up. Exhale, press it out. Now spin that left foot so it's parallel to the mat. Open up that right leg. So coming into warrior two, shoulder blades glide down your back. Settling in here. Press the mat forward. And we're feeling that crackle and burn into the hip flexor here. If you needed or wanted to load as much as possible, you can bring that right arm so it's kind of hovering, and then the left arm reaches over, maybe even reaching the right arm out. But again, this may not be what feels good today. Maybe this hold feels really good, to just hold and feel this crackle go through the little lowering down of shoulder blades. Sometimes taking it more intense isn't always better. Just giving you that option. Some people like to load really heavy, and today I feel just like feeling this pose, feeling all the spaces that feel challenging, and then settling into it. Loading just enough into my psoas. Thank you. Shoulder blades soften, face softens. Take gaze over your fingertips. Feel that energy conserve somewhere. There's lots of energy in the legs, but where can you draw it in that you're expending it, and just bring it to the legs. As you inhale, we're going to pivot that back foot forward, coming into that crescent. Here's some more fun loading. So we're going to bring that chest forward. You can use blocks here too. Lots of pressing down, lots of energy into this right foot. So we're going to inhale it up. Bring that knee up. As you exhale, we're just going to come back to crescent. We're going to do that a couple of times. Inhale, press everything you have into that right heel, lift up. Exhale it back. Keep that weight back into the heel though. We're moving from the heel, moving from this back body. Inhale one last time. Exhale. Bring both hands on either side. Coming into downward facing dog, take a big deep inhale, cleansing, clearing exhale. Come up high on those toes. Wave the spine forward. As you exhale, lower the knees, lower down. Keep those shoulder blades down, and back. Elbows do not go beyond 90. So making sure that that chest isn't going lower than the elbows. Inhale it up. Exhale, coming to downward facing dog. Take a moment here. Big deep inhale. Cleansing, clearing exhale. As you're ready, we'll inhale that left leg lifts. As you exhale, soften down towards the mat. Bring that left foot behind, left knee, bend into the back knee. Inhale, wave long. As you exhale, unhinge. Inhale it up. Exhale that fist of fire breath, press it out. Use your core, draw up from the belly. Inhale it up. Exhale. Inhale. Reach that torso forward. As you exhale, we're going to open it up back again into goddess. Take a moment and move those feet around, move the toes around, wave those hips back, find the core and the spaciousness in your hips, and then draw your torso up. And then maybe you can sink down, shoulder blades ease down. Inhale, we're going to sweep up from your mat, like if drawing in more fuel for that fire. Exhale, cross the hands behind the back, press it out. Inhale, sweep up. More for that reserve. And you exhale what has been burned away. Press it out. Bring that right foot so it's parallel to the mat. Open up that left knee. Shoulder blades glide down your back. There's an outer rotation here in the left thigh. And it's as if you're trying to get your mat really long. So the heel's pressing forward. Knife edge of the right foot pressing back. Again, if you needed more intensity or felt like you just really would like that, bring that left forearm, but hover it, right arm over. You can even extend that left arm out. Or just this hold. Just feel the fire of warrior two. Feel all those places. Maybe the shoulder blades are holding too much tension. Release, gather that energy in. Yoga is yoking, reuniting to divine, taking that focus. Instead of the doubt, fear, soften your gaze, soften your throat. Legs are really active. On your next inhale, pivot that right foot forward. Might even need to draw it in a little. Feel free to use the blocks here as well. Create some length in that spine. Press everything you have into that left leg. Inhale that right knee up. Exhale, come back to crescent, nice and slow. Inhale it up. Exhale, bring it back. One more time, driving into that heel, keeping the weight back. Inhale it up. Exhale it back. Bringing both hands on either side. Coming back to downward facing dog. Inhale it up, high on those toes. Wave the spine long, lower it down. Inhale, find that lift. Exhale, send it back to downward dog. Inhale, take a look forward, deep bend in the knees. Bring your feet directly underneath your hips. Find a nice little half lift on your next inhale. As you exhale, bend in the knees, bring weight back into the hips, and bring that torso up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Then bringing the feet, and you can bring a block here, placing it behind your seat. Bringing your feet a little wider than hip distance, toes in the same direction as your knees. And then kind of sending your seat back, forearms to the top of your thighs. We're going to come into Malasana nice and slow. So find that length in the spine. Heart is forward, tailbone is back, weight back in the heels. Maybe it feels good to bring the elbows towards the inside, pressing elbows against knees, knees into elbows. Feel free to stay here. You can always lower your seat down onto a block, any height, and keep that tension, pressing elbows into knees, knees into elbows, heart lifts. You can keep lowering the block or maybe even just remove the block, moving slow. Feeling into each kind of layering of this pose, heart lifts, shoulder blades glide down your back. Noticing into your hips. And then just lowering all the way down, bringing those feet out wide. So coming to our last stretch before we practice that neurogenic tremor. So bring your feet wide, flexing into your feet. Feel the sits bones root down. Feel the crown of the head reach up. Shoulder blades glide down your back. I always like to bring a block in front because it kind of helps guide heart forward, but shoulder blades down your back. So you can kind of slowly inch that forward As you inhale, find more length. Then exhale, there might be more melting. Inhale again, wave the spine long up from the pelvic floor. Exhale, maybe the heart melts a little deeper. Until you find a softening space here. Finding that that barrenness, but finding the space within where we're willing to do both, be blessed and be burned. Bring that torso back up. And so now we'll go through, but as always, it's not necessarily always the end goal to tremor. It's always the goal to listen to what your body feels like and needs. Some people really, really love this tremor, and I think sometimes they bypass the listening part and just want to tremor and get rid of everything. But that may not be what your body is signaling to you today. So even if you don't want to tremor and just want to lay there in a fetal position, that is perfectly fine. But if you are feeling like tremoring, come all the way down the length of your mat. And after a few minutes of this neurogenic tremor, we'll do a guided meditation in order to kind of give the body a chance and the fascial tissue to get a chance to kind of cool down, and let the psoas cool down as well. So bringing the soles of the feet together as if you were in butterfly pose, but the feet are away from your seat. So creating like a diamond shape with your legs. So one last little bit of loading in here. So press the feet together, press the feet down into the earth and let your hips lift. Keep that space in your chin. And just think of inhaling into that heart space. Exhale, letting the face melt, shoulders melt, and that conserving of energy everywhere else, and just let that energy really be. And you might notice you're kind of wavering back and forth, or maybe even shaking already in your hips. That's perfectly fine. Take another deep breath. Slowly lower those hips. Let go of the tension in the feet and the legs. Just let the legs fall open here. Just briefly let everything settle to the mat. Breath is our anchor. Breath is always a good point, especially when we're feeling the burn of that fire, to just take a few deep breaths. So take a deep inhale. Fill up the low belly. Let it travel up the spine all the way to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, soften. So pressing the soles of feet towards each other. Your hips are going to stay down this time. And you're just going to raise your knees as if you were going to bring them towards each other, but just 1 inch, just barely. And you might notice something there, maybe something not. Maybe your legs are flapping. And maybe take some time to kind of lengthen your spine. You might notice a big arch. I just noticed an arch in my back. So kind of creating some length or some spaciousness in your spine. Draw your shoulder blades underneath your heart. Hands can be wherever it feels most comfortable for you. And I encourage you to kind of explore here. So they can be cactus. You can bring arms over, have them on your heart, on your belly. Just kind of allow yourself. There's no wrong way to do this, and there's nothing that says you have to do this. This might be something that does not feel intuitive today. And once you start, you can just draw knees to chest. You can put your legs up the wall. You can start in the same pose that we began in. That's a really nice release for the psoas to just come offline. And once you feel you've had enough in this space, bring those knees towards each other just another inch. Let yourself explore here. You can always have your thumb inside, tucked underneath your four fingers. That's the first mudra. You often see this mudra in the womb a lot, so it's very calming to our nervous system. Remember, this is the body's natural way. All mammals have a way of shaking, and after a traumatic or something that caused adrenaline, they shake to release and clear those hormones and fight or flight response chemicals in our body, adrenaline, cortisol. But we don't shake anymore. We don't dance around fires. We don't yell. We don't shout to release. So this is kind of what our bodies are used to. You can keep bringing those knees up very slowly towards each other. They might tremor some more. This tremor may move beyond your hip flexors and legs and move into your low belly. And in fact, as much as we can get it to move throughout the whole body is kind of the end goal. So you might notice your hips shaking, you might have some tremor in your belly, maybe your arms. Some people really flop around, and that's okay. See if there's somewhere that maybe you are not allowing this tremor to move. It is not easy, so don't be discouraged if this tremor does not travel. It's not a big deal. You may also play with the placement of your feet. I often will like the outer edges of my feet towards the mat, just the very inner like arches touching. Know that you are in complete control of this tremor. You can begin and end at any time. And that sometimes this tremor may bring up some emotions, and that's okay too. If ever you are feeling really overwhelmed by the emotions, connect back to breath. You can pause the tremor and come back to it if you'd like, but focus on that breath. If you find yourself wanting to detach from where you are and in your body altogether, which often can happen, become aware of the room. Start to notice the color of the walls. Maybe noticing how your skin feels as it's connected to the mat. Know that you can pause this windshield wiper your legs and come back to it if you'd like. And you may even bring your entire soles of the feet towards the mat and tremor here. You can rock your hips from side to side. Wherever you're at, soften your shoulders, soften your throat and your face. And allow yourself as much time as you need to tremor. You can always pause here, but do be sure to give yourself enough space to kind of wind down from it. But if you're ready to move on, we'll do a guided meditation. Before we start this meditation, just begin to get really comfortable. So if the room is kind of cold, even find a blanket. Allow something underneath your head, your knees, whatever position feels most comfortable for you. And see if you can't even make yourself like 10% more comfortable here. And transitions are an extremely important part of life, and change is an inevitable part of our human experience. But so often we fail to recognize the importance of moving through these changes consciously, with awareness and attention. And it's easy to push aside the emotional experience of change, and we set aside the experiences in order to just move on. But eventually, the emotions and the experience will catch up with us, sometimes laying dormant for a long time and showing itself in ways that are destabilizing at the least. So it's essential that we give space to honor this transition, that we take time and move through and address the experiences that have created change, and to mind this change in order to discover the gifts within, the gifts that are jewels, that are truth and love and support. And we'll begin this meditation by setting out on the essential journey of moving from our head to the heart, shifting our focus and attention away from thoughts and belief patterns that have created our experience and into the space of possibility, the space of truth and deep knowing that exists within our heart. So begin to bring your attention and focus on your heart space. Take a breath in for deep relaxation. Breathe in ease and comfort and compassion. Into your heart space, breathe in kindness and understanding. Breathe in a deep love. Each exhale out of the space of your heart space gets spreading through your body out in directions, bringing with them relaxation. All that you put in is softening into the muscles, into your bones, into your joints, bringing a feeling of ease and softness into every single cell of your body, enlivening and at the same time bringing peace. Continue to inhale these qualities: compassion, acceptance, and love. As you exhale, watch them spread, these qualities and feelings, throughout all of your body. Maybe even extending beyond the edges of your physical form, letting it encircle you. The cycle brings comfort and the opportunity to reflect on transition. Breath is transitional. Every inhale brings the beginning to possibilities. The space between, the pause, allowing each breath, each pranic energy of life to circulate through the body, to bring with it sustenance and nourishment. With every cycle of breath on our exhale, we release and let go. And then the cycle begins anew. Every moment is transition, every breath, a new beginning and a letting go. Just as it does not serve you to hold breath for too long or to focus solely on an inhale, so is the same with transition and change. We must let go. We must then bring in nourishment and welcome new. We don't let holding. We place just as much attention, just as much focus on the surrender of our breath as we do the pause and then the in-breath. All are essential. As you continue to breathe, continue to feel and reflect on this cycle of transition. As you take your breath, let's begin to extend the pause between your inhale and exhale. So inhale, hold and allow your exhale release, and then hold at the bottom. For a few rounds. This time, breathe, hold your inhale, and reset, and calming for the body and the mind. And shifts and actively a sympathetic response into one of healing and rest. To pay attention to the pauses, to allow yourself the full experience of the cycle of the transition is to offer your body and mind such possibility for balancing. And then now we'll shift this process of inquiring into the experience that has led to this transition. Every change, every shift of our circumstances, letting go of what was. And the more we placed our hopes and our dreams into what was, the more we experience a sense of loss and grief. But this inquiry into the change and the shifts and these natural transitions helps to bring closure, to offer a sense of acceptance, kindness, and trust. Helps us to hear more clearly our heart's guidance. And so I welcome you again to bring your attention to your heart center, the energetic center of both your energy body and your physical body, the heart chakra, anahata. This is the connection between your external and your internal world, your heart's expression. See if you can't bring up an experience of change that you've been going through. Deeply consider this experience and how it's currently affecting your life. And with this experience now active in your mind, in your body, perhaps even in your emotional and physical body, I invite you to inquire. I'll pose 3 questions, and after each, offer a space of silence for your own quiet reflection. This is a space you can really let your heart speak. So allow your heart to share its wisdom with you. How did this change affect my body, my mind, my perception of life? And then the second question of inquiry, with this experience still active within, what do I feel is still unresolved from this change? How can I find this resolution? Again, just allow your heart to speak. What do I feel is still unresolved? And how can I find resolution? And the last question, allow your heart to speak. What did I learn from this change? What gifts have I been given in this transition? Again, focusing in on that space within your heart. Your heart is and just a present moment, silence, to open yourself up to your heart's guidance to receive more of the gifts of this transition. And as we begin to move and close the meditation, taking time to offer the deepest gratitude to your heart's wisdom. Right, to do so, you can place your hands over your heart. This gift of learning and curiosity. Every time we choose to look through the eyes of possibility and gratitude, being thankful for what is gifted to you now, being thankful to see change not as loss, but as the gift that it is. All of the lessons that you've learned, all of the relationships that you've cherished, the perspective of your own growth, of your own continued unfolding, this change helping you to become more and more of who you are within your essence. So allow yourself once again just to breathe deeply into your heart space. The spaciousness to move from your heart to beyond you and your entire body into every cell, your fingertips, your toes. Just noticing your breath once again. Becoming aware of your body and where it's connected to the mat. Allowing that perspective shift to bring you back into the space of the room. Maybe noticing the air in the room, noticing how your clothes feel against your skin. Feel using your fingers and your toes and let that become a larger circle. Notice. Slowly moving the soles of the feet towards the back of the heart and just from side to side, shoulder into the mat. of the chest. But again, sometimes after a psoas release, the psoas doesn't like that compression. So being mindful, maybe keeping that space and just bringing the knees upwards and then rocking from side to side. And then once you feel a side that feels really easy to breathe into, so that's pausing there, your cheek, on your bicep, closing your eyes, and once again kind of drawing back into gratitude for giving yourself this space to tune in, this time to seek guidance within, to connect, to reflect, to renew. And then allow yourself to come to an easy seated position, moving really, really slowly. Find both sits bones connected to the ground, one foot in front of the other. You can always sit up on top of a block or a blanket as well. That kind of creates some more space in the hip flexors. Taking a big, deep inhale, bringing those arms overhead. And as you exhale, drawing those palms together, bringing them through, letting at heart center, letting your head just bow gently to your heart. And the quote that I leave you with today is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We must accept finite disappointment, but we must never lose infinite hope. I hope that you kind of find that well within to continue through, to keep going, and be willing to accept the blessing as well. Thank you so much for being here today. Make sure that you drink a lot of water as you continue to support your body, especially after a psoas release. And just know that that neurogenic tremor might happen a little bit more easily, say when you're lying in bed or any other time. And just know that that may also open you up to a little bit more emotional situations. So be really mindful of who you surround yourself with, the things that you're drawing into yourself. And I really hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.